All right, awesome. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so glad that you joined us tonight for the Educator's Escape Plan live. And we just want to thank you guys for taking out of your busy schedule to come in and check in with us this evening to see what it is that we're talking about. So I know that there are many of you that are really excited and really curious to see what it is that we're going to be talking about tonight. So I don't want to keep you in suspense any longer. So let's go ahead and jump in. All right, can you guys see this?
It's loading.
Yes?
Yes, it's still loading.
Something's going on with my audio, so I can't really see, or I can't really hear you guys, but you guys can see the screen?
Now it's
Okay.
working. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Paula. All right, here we go. Let's do it. All right, so the Educator's Escape Plan, live. And this is how we go from the classroom to contracts. And this is how teachers are creating freedom, flexibility, and income that matches their impact. So, welcome, welcome. Uh, we're so glad that you joined us tonight. As I said before, I'm Jefferson Lawrence, the co-founder of Edu Ventures. And tonight we're going to be helping teachers design freedom on their own terms. If you've ever felt overworked, undervalued, or stuck between purpose and a paycheck, this session is specifically for you because you're not alone. You're definitely not alone, and change is at hand. So, our team currently consists of myself, I'm Jefferson Lawrence, Amy Lawrence, who is my wife, who was greeting and making sure everyone was nice and cozy and ready to go. And Dr. Shields, who is one of our founding advisors, isn't currently here. I was under the impression that she may be hopping on shortly, so we'll just leave room for her. But together, we're building a movement that helps educators teach with purpose, thrive, to be able to thrive financially, and to elevate their lifestyle beyond the classroom walls. So let's set the stage for what we're going to be talking about tonight. There's one word and one word only that is going to resonate from this point forward, and that word is freedom. So, we're talking freedom of time, we're talking freedom of income, and we're talking freedom of choice. So, by the end of this session, you'll know exactly how to monetize your teaching skills, land your first travel or contract assignment, and build a life that honors both your purpose and your paycheck. So, here's the problem. Teachers are told to do it for the love, while the system profits off of your sacrifice. Now, when we say system, who are we talking about? Unfortunately, we're talking about the districts, the powers that be, the states, the federals. Those are the people that we're talking about. Now, but here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Passion shouldn't mean poverty, and impact shouldn't mean exhaustion, whereas purpose should come with prosperity. Now, you deserve to be valued, compensated fairly, and free to design a career that works for you. Here's the reality of the matter. Most teachers struggle not because they lack skill, talent, or dedication. They struggle because they've never been shown how to position those incredible skills for freedom, flexibility, and financial reward. Now, that's what we're changing tonight. So, there's a three-stage framework to freedom. The first framework being awareness. And simply with awareness, all we're saying is realize your worth and break free from the burnout cycle. Recognize that your skills are valuable far beyond the classroom, or at least the classroom that you're currently serving in. Now, alignment. It's being able to identify the transferable skills that travel and scale and discover what you love doing and how to translate it to a high paying opportunity. And then the last step is going to be action. To be able to build systems that move from classroom to contract, to take a contract step or excuse me, to take a concrete step to secure your first freedom-based assignment. Now, these proven frameworks has helped hundreds of educators transform their careers and reclaim their lives. Now, here's some real stories. I'll take a moment to kind of tell you my story. So we are talking 2023. I had just recently come back into education after leaving for a while to explore some other entrepreneurial endeavors. And upon returning, I came across an opportunity to uh, transfer into a high need, critical need school. And in doing such, I met a very, very um, impactful lady who is not on the call with us tonight as of yet, but none other than Dr. Shields. So we were in the SPED office one day, and I happened to overhear her having a conversation with another colleague. And if she was on the line right now, she would say that I was ear hustling, which would be correct. I was somewhat listening to what she was saying. And what she went on to share was that she, although she wasn't doing it currently at the moment due to some other personal reasons, she had been traveling as a teacher across the country. She had been to Arizona. She had been to, I think, two different assignments in Arizona. And so when I heard that, I was very much intrigued because here's the thing: like when I came back to education, for me, it wasn't out of necessity, but it was more so out of a pure call. Like there was something that was kind of pulling at me, tugging at me to want to get me to kind of step into this or back into this space. So, from that point forward, it was like, okay, why is it that I can't leave and stay away from education? So once I started asking those questions, then what ultimately shifted in my mind is obviously, if I'm supposed to be in education, there's something here that I need to be aware of, and I need to be observant and looking toward the things that uh, could potentially be in my favor. So, how many of you know that sometimes just being in the right place at the right time is all that it takes? Just being in the right place at the right time. So, I to be in the office in that particular moment and hearing this conversation. And obviously, when she started sharing what she was sharing, it kind of piqued my interest. So obviously, once that conversation ended, I'm like, Dr. Shields, now you got to spill the beans. What's going on? And sure enough, she was like, what you doing? You over there listening to my conversation? I'm like, I mean, kind of, sort of. But I was like, more importantly, you got to share with me what's going on. So long story less long, she shared what would soon be the travel slash contract teaching opportunity. And to make the story less long, I'll put it as this. Let's just say that from the time that she shared what this was about, from the time it took me to make contact with agencies and recruiters, 22 days from the day that we had that initial conversation, I was on my first assignment in South Carolina. It happened just that quick. So, and just to give you a little bit more perspective, when I put my information out to the agencies, I had more calls than I was willing to take of opportunities that were before me. So when I say that there is a growing and an exuberant amount of opportunity when it comes to contract teaching and travel teaching, you don't have to take my word for it. I can show you verbatim. Now, with that being said, let's keep it moving. So we end up going to South Carolina, which was the beginning of our journey as travelers and contract teachers. My wife and my daughter, my 8-year-old, we took off to South Carolina, and let's just say we ended up spending almost 2 years there. Great, great opportunity, great exposure for us. It created something that for us, it would make it really, really hard for us to go back to a traditional role. And here's the beauty of it. Like when I was placed in South Carolina, I was also able to get my wife connected as a paraprofessional as well. She was able to be at the same school that I was at. Matter of fact, we were able to work across the hall from each other. So how much better does it get than that? We're talking husband-wife duo, daughters in private school 5 minutes away. Hey, we live in the dream, right? So here's what we're saying. In the midst of us being there, one particular night, my wife was like, hey, you know what? I think, you might be onto something. I think this might be something that we might need to lean into. And actually, I'll pause here and kind of let her kind of step in and kind of share that bit of the story, so that way she can kind of, express what it was that she was actually feeling and what she was sensing in that moment. So go ahead, babe, take it away.
Okay, thank you. So for me, because I didn't go in doing this, I was homeschooling our 6-year-old at the time. So for me, that's kind of what life would be till he was finished with that contract. It ended up that the Spanish teacher was pregnant and she was getting ready to have her baby after we came back from the holidays, New Year's, and they needed somebody there. And they just so happened to ask Jefferson, hey, do you know anyone who speaks Spanish or know someone back home that maybe would want to travel to South Carolina? He was like, oh, my wife. And so that's kind of how that happened. I definitely think God will place everything very much on purpose and on time. So it fit like a glove. The position, although I was considered a paraprofessional, I was teaching it by myself. The teacher left the book and her like yearly, how she does the lessons every year. And I just kind of took it from there. Came up with my own games and different things of that sort. We would dance and play Spanish songs to learn, like, the alphabet and things like that. But it was a really good opportunity. It was very unexpected for me, but to kind of piggyback on what he was saying, how he said at the end of his little introduction was like how we came across doing this, um, because there's such a need. There's such a need. People don't know about the traveling aspect of it. And yet alone, I think the travel and the fact that you can market yourself and get hired as a teacher without having to go through the district. And I think that, or at least like when I used to work for the district, I used to teach before, it was very low pay. You had a lot of work, or you worked under a teacher, and it was very different. Where here, it's kind of on your own terms, and you get to decide if you want to do certain things or not. And then you either take the position or you don't, but you have the option. There's so many options, and nobody knew this when we would ask around. Nobody had a clue. But I think for us, it made sense. Us going into this with no one helping us was really difficult. But because of that difficulty, we saw an opportunity, which is now what we've created, where a teacher could go into this state, not know anything about that state or the conditions or the environment, but us give them that, like, walk with them through the entire process, as well as finding housing, finding things nearby, and that kind of stuff. And there's nobody out there that does that. So when we found that was a niche, and so now we're just kind of like, hey, there's so many other people that could be doing this, but nobody's talking about it.
Very
Kind
good,
of.
very good. Thanks for sharing. Um, and even as we can continue to jump in for a moment, so just really quick, if you guys will drop this in the chat, if you are ready to reclaim your time and income this year, let's see who's ready to make some changes here. And again, you may still have a few questions, and that's fine. That's fine. That's only fair. Just a moment ago, you probably didn't know that contract or travel teaching was a thing. And what I will allude to and say in this particular moment is this: I know that we're saying travel teaching, but it's not necessarily solely based on travel. There are different roles that you can play in this. It can be travel, yes, whether you're going from state to state, but it can also be local. There are opportunities right in your backyard that you may not be aware of, that it even exists for that matter. So those opportunities are here, and also virtual. There are also virtual opportunities where that you can be here in Colorado and be teaching in Florida or Ohio or what have you. So here's what I'm saying, and let me set the stage as to why this is so significant. So 2020, everyone's familiar with COVID. Everyone's familiar with the fact that everything shut down, everybody was home, everybody was remote. Now, here's what happened through that particular event. The school system really took a hit because for most teachers, this was a way for them to get out of the industry. They just took it and decided to pivot into something else. Well, when they did that, that left a massive, massive need in the education space that they no longer could fill. So what ended up happening is I'm sure many of you are familiar with travel nursing and travel therapists and things of that sort. Well, here's what happened. Those agencies that were providing healthcare services or workers through that particular model of travel, they, by way of accident, kind of stumbled into the need being for education as well. So, what did that look like? That looked like, okay, you're in California and you don't have a math teacher. Okay, let us see if we can find you a math teacher that can fill that need for you. So, hence, travel slash contract teaching was born. But here's what I don't think people realize about that. Because people were leaving the industry at such a high rate, the districts were unable to keep up with the current needs of their school year. So what ended up happening is, look at it this way. Let's say you're starting the school year. You've hired everybody that you can hire, but you still have 4 or 5 positions left. Well, what you're looking at now is, okay, well, how am I going to fill these positions? Because every child is required to have a certified teacher that is able to meet their needs. Well, what happens if you can't find a certified teacher? Well, you got to go look for one. Well, what ended up happening is you had districts being very creative. They started going overseas and bringing in teachers from other countries, offering them 3-year visas, 4-year visas to be able to work in the schools. That was one path they chose. Second path was they started working directly with recruiting agencies that could find travel educators or contract teachers that were from various places across the country. Well, here's the thing. If you're very familiar with how rural USA is, they don't have all of the benefits and the perks that, say, for instance, a urban city like Denver or Houston or Chicago or so on and so forth. So if you want to have a good educator, you first have to be able to compensate them well enough or entice them enough to be able to want to leave where they are to come to a rural place in, let's say, South Carolina. So with that being said, here's what happened. As a result of this high need and the solutions being not being met, here's what ended up happening. Teachers that were willing to take this position were basically able to name their price as to what it would take for them to be able to transition to these particular districts around the country. And when we get to that point, you're going to start to see how and why this is such a big deal. All right. So before we get there, and I'm realizing something here about my presentation here that I'm missing here, but it's okay. It's all right. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it do what it do. We're gonna make it do what it do. Don't worry. Don't worry. All right. So here's what ended up happening. So you had teachers now being offered similar pay packages that travel nurses were. So here's how it works. When a traveling nurse goes out, they get a base salary, and their base salary is typically, X amount of dollars per hour. Well, because they're traveling, they also have to provide them with the stipend for housing. And this stipend for housing is there to kind of allow them to be able to find somewhere to stay. Well, because you're staying somewhere that is not home, you also need to eat. So they also give you a stipend for eating as well. So here's what ends up happening. You have your base salary, you have your stipend for living, and you have your stipend for eating. So when you combine all of those things together, it creates a very nice compensation package, to say the least. So I'll give you an example. We're in South Carolina. My wife is a paraprofessional, which is not a certified degree teacher, but a paraprofessional. And just so that you can kind of put this in perspective. Now, there are certified teachers that are there in the building, of course. But here's what happens. And this is how and why I want you to see the gravity as to what we're talking about. My wife, as a paraprofessional, was making more money than a certified teacher in the building that we were in. Not only that, here's some of the perks of being a contract teacher. First of all, you get paid weekly. Second of all, you don't have to deal with a lot of the stress and the pressures of being a district employee. I was sharing with Victoria today that a lot of the reasons why I move in the manner that I move is because we are contracted from hour to hour. Anything that we do beyond those hours, we have to be compensated for. So what ends up happening is schools and districts don't want to pay the time and a half or the overtime for us to do a trivial task like staying for after school duty or going to a faculty meeting or staying overnight in most cases, schools are not willing to do that. So therefore, what we earn or what we gain is our freedom of time. We're there from this hour to that hour. So we get paid weekly. We now have freedom of time because we're only there for certain hours. And guess what? We don't have evaluations. We don't have, we do lesson plans, you do because you got to be able to teach a lesson. But a lot of the stresses that current district employees have as a contractor / travel teacher, those things don't exist. You just come in and do your job, be professional, get paid weekly, get paid very nicely on a weekly basis. And just for perspective, or just so that you have a benchmark there, in most cases, we find that our educators are making sometimes as much as 2 to 3 times the rate as a district employee. Now, I want you to let that sink in for a moment. 2 to 3 times the rate that a district employee is making. And we're getting that every week. Now, this past weekend, I was having a conversation with the educator, and the conversation kind of blew my mind because I didn't realize that there are school districts today that still pay once a month. Once a month. Now, I experienced that my very, very first year of teaching. That particular year, I remember getting paid once a month. But outside of that, when I left Mississippi and came to Texas, it was every 2 weeks. When I left Texas and got into travel, it became every week. Now I want you to think about what you have the ability to do. First of all, if you're getting paid every week. But second of all, if you're getting paid every week 2 to 3 times what the person that's next to you is being paid. All because of being aware of an opportunity, or as I said at the beginning, being at the right place at the right time. Now, with that being said, there's a whole lot more that goes into this, and I'm not going to take the time to kind of break down, the ins and the outs and the intricate pieces, because all of that comes a little bit later. So here's what we're talking about tonight. So tonight we're looking at, and this should say 2 paths to freedom. There's 2 paths that you can go to get on this train. Now let's talk about these 2 paths. Depending on how you learn and what's the best way and where you are in your journey, each of these paths are designed to meet you where you are and to guide you toward the freedom you deserve. All right. So the first option, we have what you call a do-it-yourself education blueprint. And this is golden, because basically what I did is I took my 22-day journey from knowledge or to acknowledgement to placement, and I put it in a workbook so that you can follow step by step by step by step to get you where you're going. Now, who is this for? This is for a self-starter, a planner, someone who loves working at their own pace with a comprehensive guidance. Now, what do? You get a complete 21-day blueprint ebook, placement-ready checklist, done-for-you templates, free resources that are in the vault that you have access to. Now, this is just simply a investment of $67. Now, if my daughter was over here, this was born by her. She's been on this, as you guys know, she's on this 6-7 thing. Everything's 6-7. So she's on it. Yeah, Daddy, it's 6-7. I'm like, yeah, baby. Okay, 6-7. So we're talking about a simple investment of $67, and this gets you the workbook that will allow you to go point by point, step by step, and it's going to lay it out, everything that you need to do. Now, that's for my self-starters. Then we have my favorite, the 5-day entrepreneur launch challenge. Now, this is for the doers. These are for those who need accountability and those that like to take action, and massive actions at that. So we're talking about 5 powerful nights of energy, clarity, and strategy designed to get you the results fast. Because again, one of the things that we understand about progress, anytime that we're able to collect time to get more done in a shorter period of time, it's going to be in our best interest, because it's going to allow to make progress faster. So, and on that particular note, in regards to the Entrepreneur Launch Challenge, Paula, if you would, being that you are a recent graduate of the Entrepreneur Challenge, if you would just be so kind and just share just a few words as to what your experience was and what you learned.
Well, I just want to say thank you. It was a great experience. It was a great experience. I learned a lot. I wasn't aware of something like this, of like teachers can travel. I knew about nurses, but I never knew about like teachers be able to travel, and like having so much advantages, like you say, like, and that guidance, like I really needed that guidance from, because sometimes you feel lost, or at least that was my case. I feel lost, like you're burnt out, you're like, is this the only thing I can do? So it really helped me. It jumped just in the right time for me because I really wanted to do something else, but I didn't know how to do it. I wanted to keep growing in my path, but I didn't have the guidance. I didn't know what I could do, and at the same time enjoying that, because of the experiences. Sometimes you just want to give up or just leave, and I think that happens to a lot of teachers. And the incentive of having such a great opportunity to earn more money and on your time with your conditions, uh, and you have the chance that you can get so many offers and you get to choose which one do you want and where do you want to go. Because it's not, for example, I am more interested in the local part for personal reasons, but is this open for people that really want to travel, enjoy those areas, and that everything's paid is like amazing. I feel like I never heard about that before, and I really think that that is such a great opportunity for people to just that have gone through burnout and everything, just to see education in a different perspective, that you can also do what you love with passion, but at the same time enjoy life without stress. So I think is an amazing opportunity for to grow more.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. I see you. I see you. So that's what's up. And what we're talking about is simply a 5-day intensive where that we hit some very, very important topics that allow us to, first of all, we start with the mindset and we start with the belief of who we are and what we're capable of doing. Because oftentimes, if we don't believe that we are the asset, then we don't operate as such. So there are 5 days, typically um, anywhere from about 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes where that we are diving in deep. Massive, massive value because between myself, Dr. Shields, Amy, we are just pouring and pouring from our experiences, our expertise that have allowed us to be able to transfer our experience to those that are in the group with us. And at the end of this, we're looking for transformation, how an individual can go from zero to gas to the pedal, metal to the pedal to the metal. There we go. Pedal to the metal, whether we are, we're making it happen. So I am so grateful and thankful, Paula, for you being with us tonight, being able to share just a little bit with how the actual challenge actually works. So with that, basically, again, we're positioning your personal brand authentically. We're preparing for professional placement. We're connecting directly with agencies with opportunities. And we're also building a supportive community. If you want results in real time, this is the way to go. And we're talking about investment of $197 to join the challenge. Now, there's two paths. There's a do-it-yourself and there's a 5-day challenge. You choose your lane. Each path is designed to honor where you are and to get you to where you want to go. So it's just about choosing a path. Now, this was something that Amy shared in one of our sessions. She said, you don't have to wait for permission to change your life. You already have everything you need. You just need a roadmap and support to get there. So profound, so profound. All right. So all right. So tonight, you've seen the paths clearly laid out before you. You've heard real stories from teachers. You've had transformed lives. Now the choice is yours. You can stay where you are, Or you can start building your freedom story tonight. Choose your path below and get started on this incredible journey together. So the freedom starts here. There's 2 paths. You take one action, you get started now. Teachers don't just teach, they thrive here. And your freedom starts with either the DIY blueprint or the 5-day challenge. I want to say thank you for showing up tonight, for believing in your purpose, and for trusting us with the next steps. We're here to walk you through this journey, from classroom to contract, from burnout to balance, from teaching to thriving. This is Jefferson and Amy, and we are the founders of EduVentures, where we teach teachers to be able to teach, to thrive, and to elevate. Now, with that being said, we are definitely honored to have you guys with us tonight. I will open up just for a little bit to kind of ask a couple of questions. There are a few more fine-tuning aspects that we're going to do to this. The one thing about building a system, and this is what I'm learning, unfortunately, the hard way, via my mishap this weekend, is systems has to be tested. You have to test your systems. You have to make sure that you do the pre-leg work, because it allows you to keep from having mishaps. So those are the bumps and the bruises of the process, and I'm okay with that. I'm good with that. I embrace that, because each time that we have these experiences, each time that we do these webinars, each time that we do the challenge, every time we do that, we become better. We become better. We're able to fine tune and sharpen our tools that much more to be that much more effective and efficient the next time that we do this. So with that being said, I can open up the lines if you want. Guys have a few questions. I can answer those questions, and then we can kind of proceed from there. So any questions? The one person that I know would have potential questions is currently on, and she says, I don't have any at this time. Very well. Well, guys, we thank you so much for joining us on tonight, where we are teaching people how to teach, thrive, and to elevate, and how we're leaving from burnout to balance. And we're escaping the pressures of what the traditional setting has placed upon us. It's not that teachers don't love teaching anymore. It's just the fact that we don't love teaching in the manner in which causes us the added stress and the added pressures, and makes it very uncomfortable for us to be able to do what it is that we love doing, which is being able to impact the lives that are in front of us. So thank you for joining us tonight. And until next time, you guys have a great night. Good night.